Is the Town of Blowing Rock Planning Board, March 18th, 2021, and we have everybody here. So I'll ask for an approval of the agenda. So if there's a motion to do that.
So moved.
Mike has said that he's got the approval, and a second.
I'll do it.
Okay, Joe. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes, which Tammy put together. Thank you, Tammy, for doing that. And need a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll do it right.
Okay, Pete, and a second by Joe. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So, we have swearing in of new members, which would be Sam, and then selecting a chair and a vice chair.
I think, I'm not sure, I think members that have newly appointed as well, because you're starting a new term. I don't know if we've done it in the past, but I think you're supposed to be sworn too, so it'd be you two guys and Sam.
Okay.
And so y'all can do it individually. Tammy, you want to do it individually?
I can do we, the undersigned, or however you want to do it.
Up to you.
We'll just do one then, and then everybody raise your
Yeah.
hand. Okay,
Okay.
so everybody,
We,
let them stand,
okay.
at least stand. You, just the three new guys. You guys are good.
Okay. We, the undersigned, do solemnly swear that we will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of North Carolina, and the town of Blowing Rock, not inconsistent therewith, and that we will faithfully discharge the duties of the office to which we have been entrusted without fear or favor, so help us God.
I do.
I do.
Okay. All right, and if you guys will sign and date those before you leave tonight, we'll have Tammy notarize them and put them in the minute book.
Okay, moving on, we have the selection of a chair and a vice chair. So we'll entertain,
What do we have now?
I nominate Pete as the chair and Wes as the vice chair.
okay, there's a motion made by Mr. Page. Is there a second?
Second
Okay, Pete Page seconds. Any discussion?
I don't want to be the vice chair. We've got some new guys here on the board. I think give them a chance.
Okay, then I'll open it up for discussion.
Well, nothing against the new guys, but shouldn't we have somebody that's been on the board for a while? Not me either.
Hey, Joe, that was very tactfully done.
Harrison, would you be willing to do the job as vice chairman?
Hold on,
Well, what does it entail? I mean,
let me make sure that he can.
and I'm in the ETJ too.
He's an
so-
ETJ member. It might be okay, I just gotta check.
It just, when Pete's not here, you take over for him. That's really,
That's it. Okay.
Pete's gonna be here every time, so don't have to worry about
Except when I'm in Italy.
it.
Drinking wine with you.
Can't go.
So Harrison, was that an okay from you?
Well, let's see what Kevin says. But, yeah, otherwise, okay.
Yeah, withdraw the nomination of Wes and we'll nominate Harrison instead.
So, I believe he's a regular member because it's not like the ETJ. Well, even if he was the ETJ member, which he is, and on the Board of Adjustment, he's still a regular member. There's 3 alternates on the Board of Adjustment. We don't have alternates here, so you're all regular members. So he would be eligible to serve.
So you're saying that that's, according to what you've read, is okay?
Yes.
Harrison?
Okay.
Okay. So Mike amended his motion. Would you restate it again, please?
Withdraw the motion, for Wes as vice chairman, and instead, move that Harrison be vice chair.
Okay,
I think that requires a second.
I'm sorry?
I think that may require a second, so
Okay, so you've heard Mike's motion. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Okay, Pete Page is the second. Discussion. You've heard the comments from Kevin, and he's given us the blessing, so I would say,
Excuse me, I couldn't hear the motion, but I'm assuming it was Pete Marini as chair and Harrison as vice. Is that correct?
Correct.
that's correct.
Okay.
Sorry, Tammy.
And Mike Page made the motion.
And Pete Page seconded, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, that's been approved. Thank you all. All right, Kevin, so review and consideration of the land use amendments related to 321 visioning plan. Kevin has sent the package out with the changes, and it's, I gotta tell you, I was looking back through all my paperwork, and we started this process, believe it or not, back in April 19, when Councilperson Sue Sweeting put together an ad hoc committee, and from there, it went, and it went, we had Benchmark here doing a lot of stuff, and I think the thing I liked about Benchmark was that for those of you that went to any of those meetings, they had 2 public hearings, and they voted on what people liked and disliked. And so you really got a sense from the community by voting, you know, what was appropriate. And so then we went from there to a subcommittee, and the members of that subcommittee were Mike Page, Pete Page, Bill McCart, and myself. And here it is, March 18th, and we're finally getting this done, I think. So thank you to all of you that have served on that subcommittee, and thank you to anyone else that helped out. And a special thanks to Kevin and Tammy for all the work that they did. So with that, Kevin, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Pete. I sent a notice, a public notice, to all the property owners that, in general business along 321. I think it ended up being about 30-some mailings. Does that sound about right, Tammy? About 30,
Yes.
30 to 35. I got really 4 responses. And Pete and I met yesterday with Carl Underwood, who owns property on the corner of Possum Hall and 321. We also met with Suzanne Miller at Blowing Rock Antiques. I spoke we laid out for them the history of what we've been working on and what the changes were. Those attachments, the ones that you have in front of you. And I sent them a copy when they came. And those that I spoke to over the phone, I spoke with Doug Beach today at Twigs over the phone, and then spoke with Barry Buxton, who owns property across the street from Twigs beside the fire department. And Barry said, you know, they had owned the property for about 50 years in his family. And he was concerned about any of these changes that might have an impact on their property. And I explained to them really the one change, the major change really is setbacks and building height. And explained that to him, and he seemed to think that it seemed reasonable, but he was just concerned of anything that would negatively affect the value of that property, and I can understand that. So, and sent he and Doug copies of what you have in front of you, and also the colors. You know, that's something to discuss tonight too. And that we're not finished. This is really the first set of regulations we're trying to amend, and then we'll tackle some of the other recommendations that came out of the 321 vision plan, which was implementation strategies. So that's it. We weren't required to send notice out for planning board or kind of where we were, but we did. We thought it would be fair so people that have a direct interest in this and how their property is affected. And we'll do the same for the public hearing that's coming up. If this moves forward tonight, when we go to council in April, we'll do the same thing. We'll send them a notice about the public hearing aspect of it. And they'll have an opportunity to speak to it. And again, not required to do so. It's a general ordinance amendment, but we felt like we want to inform as much as we can. We've kind of learned that lesson over the years. So this document was presented to council at their retreat, and it's pretty much what the subcommittee had recommended and what the planning board had agreed to, that these changes would be necessary to follow along with the implementation strategies of the vision plan. So if you'll go to attachment A, that's where we discuss the building materials. And really what we did is remove brick as an option. And that is not just 321. That's also, that affects downtown, all commercial buildings. So we removed brick because that was kind of the consensus as we came out of the study. That was a push. We did in section, and this is on page 7 of your handout, on 1621.4.3, we expanded the primary building materials from 2 to 3 because there is going to be variables in the design of buildings that we see. And that's really about it in that section. Some other clarification language in there, just really trying to clean it up a little bit. Attachment B, and this will go as an entire package. Attachment B is where we talk about building height and setbacks. And in the yellow highlighted, it says in the general business district, the overall height of the building or structure shall not exceed 35 feet if the building meets the standard 20-foot street setback and 8-foot side and rear setbacks. The overall building height may be increased to 50 feet if the building meets a street setback of 40 feet and side and rear setbacks of 16 feet. So that's where we were, and that has not changed. Attachment C was a very simple change to some permissive language that we found in the ordinance in our commercial design standards dealing with landscaping. We just took out the wording about being strongly recommended, and then all pruning, we just changed that to shall. Not anything really big there, but takes out some a little bit of loose language and makes it a little bit more firm. Another thing that we're going to change, exterior colors, and I got 4 versions of it. These are the only colors that I found after combing through our commercial design standards. Or our approved colors. And y'all can certainly take a look. I'll pass it down. This is just the Benjamin Moore version. And there's I don't know where it is, but there's a Sherwin-Williams version somewhere. Somebody probably has checked it out and not returned it. But anyway, they're identical. We've got, matched colors in each one. And you can see in this book. Those four are grouped together on one page. I think it's page 5. And they have a pink tint. And in my opinion, that's the only ones, I think it's chart 4, actually. Those are the only ones I think are worth removing. Everything else I think is compatible with the design colors that we've got there. There wasn't any push to expand the list of colors to include any others. And if you work within the colors that we have, we'll take a shade here and there. We've done that as we work with people on their design. I feel like we've worked this thing over and overcooked it and worked it through pretty good. The subcommittee spent a lot of time with it, wordsmithing it and getting it right. And feel pretty good about it. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
So now that Kevin has gone through his, I'd like to hear individually from each of you so that as we pass this on to the council, we're sort of sympathetic to what we've put together. So Harrison, we'll start with you, and do you have any comments or any concerns?
I'm fine with taking those colors out.
No, not necessarily about the colors, just the whole scope of everything that we've done.
No.
Okay. Sam?
No real comment.
Okay. Pete?
Was I know I'm the new guy, just asking all the questions. Was there just consistency issues with these, just with the colors that you've seen in town, or is it just the pinkness, I guess, that stood out?
The pinkness that stood out.
Okay.
I mean,
Just
there is
curious.
a pink building we know on Sunset, and they can keep that. And if they can repaint it and be the same. But if they want to change it, it'd need to be something consistent with our color palette. That color palette has been on since '97, when it was adopted. Hadn't been any changes to it. I think the Architectural Review Board that put it together did a pretty good job. If by we looking back, and even some of those colors, I've not seen anybody propose that. But I know there's the colors that were used on, I'll say, on a building on Sunset, probably are lean towards those colors. And I've always had comments from people who said, those probably are not Blowing Rock colors.
Okay. Wes? You good? Bill?
Just one thing on page 9.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch conditional use permit in that paragraph?
Well, it's been,
Or is that one of
It
the
has
changes
been-
we've already got?
we've already changed it.
All right.
I guess. I'll check. Did you change it, Bill?
I
This is
didn't go
the
back.
old text,
Yeah,
so
I forgot to go back and look.
I'll pull it up and see if we're consistent.
Was that it, Bill, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mike?
I think that it's appropriate as proposed. And I believe that this does go back to the public meetings.
Yeah.
So it's not something that just arose out of our discussions.
No, the next step is back to the council. I pretty much agree with everybody else, so I'm good to go with it. Joe?
Let it fly.
Huh?
I'm good with it, let it fly.
Okay. So with that, if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve this then.
I'll motion.
Harrison, okay? Is there a second?
A second.
Okay.
Getting in on the action.
So there's been a first and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll move to take a vote, and let's do the vote by individual. Harrison, Aye. Sam? Pete?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
Wes? Bill?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Me, aye. And Joe? Aye. Unanimous. Okay. So moving forward, other business, anything under other business? I've got some things I want to raise, but go ahead and start with your presentation, Kevin.
I don't have a presentation.
No, not, but I mean, just,
I'm not, oh, there's nothing I've missed.
Okay.
No, but I know y'all like to kind of get caught up on, as you should, projects that are coming down the pike. And council at the March council meeting adopted the changes to chapter 16 and 17 and also chapter 3 for consistency with chapter 160D of the general statutes. Again, Bill, I'm going to thank you again for the hard work. I might want you to put this in a final form unless I can get an intern going. But no, so they approved that. The one change that they did not go along with that I recommended at planning board was changing special use requirement for accessory apartments in general business, town center, office institutional, and central business. That was a recommendation by staff, and y'all approved it, but that did not go through, so they just left them at special use permit.
so to that point, does that just get pushed aside, or could that come back, or?
It might come back one day, not from me.
No interest
Not a slow burn.
No.
there was no interest from city council on that one at all.
No. I mean, bigger fish to fry, and we fried it that night, was 160D, and that's good. There's communities still pushing to get it done, wrestling with it, and I'm grateful that we can get it done. As you know, the Winkler subdivision was approved in February. Y'all make a recommendation in January, I believe. The year's starting to pick up speed. There's been some movement on that as far as with a group that has wanted to purchase the bottom part of that. And so there may be some changes to what John ends up doing. And, you know, that's probably all I probably should say. I mean, I think there's enough known about that. There's some movement with making some changes to that, but still would be some lots to develop, and that subdivision, if it's amended, may be approved administratively and not
Have to come back to.
but
the-
it's still approved, so, you know,
Right.
that could still happen. I will be receiving another subdivision out on Green Hill, probably in the next couple of weeks. I think now is at 6 lots. Nothing, I've received some stuff, but no application at this point. I have received a conditional zoning request for the property between Pine and Laurel Lane, behind Village Shops and behind Main and Pine. Steve Hetherington is proposing an 8 townhome development there, and it'll be conditional zoning, so it'll be open. It will be an open process, neighborhood meeting, and that will be coming up shortly, within the next week or so. We're in review right now, and so that would be a residential project coming for you, and it's 8 townhomes. The Blowing Rock Country Club has submitted a special use, our first special use in 20 years, a special use application to amend the existing conditional use, where when they built the cart barn and exercise facility, to build a pro shop and restrooms and locker rooms and all that. So that's, that is being, coming to April planning. And, that's really all I got that's coming. I mean, there's more coming. I talked with the guy, the general contractor for the hotel project this week, and they're getting ready to mobilize. And the Bass Lake sidewalk project is moving along. They've connected some stormwater down the corner at Speckled Trap. And then Green Construction will come back in the next couple of weeks and start working from that corner, curb and gutter, sidewalk, taking it on out and moving on up the road. So that's my
Okay,
update.
any questions from board members on anything?
Remember, special use, anything that's a special use, there's no discussion outside the meeting. Conditional zoning, talk about all you want.
Anything over here? Okay,
Kevin,
Yes,
the last motion, that was Harrison and Sam Hess, right?
that's right.
Okay, and can I get a list who is actually there? I know it's Pete, Joe.
Everybody,
Yes, everybody. So that should be 9 people, right?
that's right. Pete and Pete, Sam and Sam,
Okay, I didn't know yet. See?
Joe, Mike, Bill, Wes,
Okay.
and Harrison. And it'll be in that email.
Okay,
Thank you, Tammy.
thank you.
so the meeting in April looks like it might be a good, pretty busy schedule, if everything you say is going to be on there.
Yes,
Okay.
should be 2 projects.
Okay. Anything else?
Town council at the retreat looked at what we worked on tonight,
Yes,
comfortable with it.
yes.
So our next
The
step.
only question at that time was how do we want to get the word out? And so my strategy was just to send notices, mail notices, and so they're aware of it.
We talk a little bit more about a public meeting.
So here's what I did. The notice that went out gave people, this is the notice, and I'll send you a copy. It gave people the opportunity, you can just pass that down if you will, Joe. Listed those 4 amendments. Now, one of them that is not on there is the limits to certain land uses. That's not done yet. Tattoo parlors, you know, things that we deal with here, tattoo parlors and palm readers. Anyhow, so that language is not ready, and so perhaps I can have that ready at the next meeting. But I wanted to hear from people, and we set up the opportunity for them to meet this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, or today. They could come by, and so we had 2 people, and they met with Joe, Pete and myself. And the other 2 were by phone call. I hadn't had any other response.
This would be in lieu of a public meeting.
Yes. We gave them an opportunity to set up a time where we could meet with 1 or 2 individually. And we got 4 responses. I received 1 return mailing, and I'm gonna reach out to them individually before the public hearing, and I'll send it back out. Maybe their address was not correct, whatever, but we just use what the county has. And I'll just call them.
I know that we're directing this to people who have a direct interest in what happens on Valley Boulevard. Should we be concerned about Civic Association and others feeling that they have not got an opportunity to speak?
They had plenty of opportunity in 2019, and when we did the full-on visioning workshop, there was plenty of discussion, and there was movement along that. And then, but there'll be a public hearing next month, and then they have the opportunity to speak then too.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's everything that we had outlined, and we've covered everything, so if there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay? Harrison, first, a second on that? Sam, did you? Okay. And Sam Glover? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Thank you very much.